So, we all like movies, we all like visiting the art museum every now and then. We all know how hard and difficult it is to make some of these things. Now try to do all of that in 2 weeks. I mean, we've all done some little art doodling here and there. We have a few here who still do. Alright, my name is John Simmons, and I am a student of this UALR speech communication class. And I'll be talking about my volunteer experience at a PTC's Charts Academy. And with this talk, I'll be going over what Charts' mission, or what it is, my time there, and the things I did, and the things that I learned while I was there. Now that with the itinerary out of the way, let's on to my first point. My first point is over my volunteer experience, which is at Charts Academy at PTC. It is over the summer, and it's there. Charts is a place where certain people can come in for the summer for 2 weeks to preserve certain types of art, whether it be theater art, actual visual art, graphic art, computer art, or any other type of art you can think of. We have a class to kind of accommodate that. Besides finding an art to do, it is also a way to help make friends as well, because a lot of the students we get are people who are not very outgoing people who like to be by themselves and such and such. And so, sorry. On to my next point, which will have a communication principle and 2 concepts. We've all had troubles trying to explain something to someone, right? Or just people who don't really understand what you're getting at. My communication principle is that communication is complex. There is no easy or simple form of communicating, whether it's symbols or not. It's just not easy. And based on the survival guide, the definition of this is, actually I already said that, oopsies. And an example of dealing that that communication is not easy and is very complex is trying to talk with children and people with social anxiety and people who don't know how to speak in general. It is not an easy thing when you're trying to convey your messages or help them convey their own messages. A communication concept that I also use during my volunteering experience is empathetic listening. And based on our textbook, empathetic listening is a form of listening or response to other people's own communication. And an example of how I dealt with this was a lot of children, you have to sit there and really listen to them and understand them and pay attention to what they're saying. Because sometimes kids say things and you don't understand it. Or if you're dealing with someone who has a hard time talking, you have to just be quiet and patient and listen to them and trying to understand where they're coming from and how I'll say this. And another thing is having to deal with these people who have low self-esteem. My second concept, which is self-esteem. A lot of where I specifically was volunteering was with the visual art parts of the camp, where a lot of people are drawing, making art like origami and stuff like this. A lot of these people that I were dealing with are people like us, around our ages or younger, from the 14, 13 up to 17. A lot of these people that I was with have very, very low self-esteem. There are people with great art that could do all sorts of great things, but their self-esteem is just really low. So I had to be there to be that one person to uplift them and tell them that, hey, your art is great, despite the fact that I too myself have low self-esteem. On to my final part, which has a concept and a ethical implication. The other concept that I have is social context. A lot of these students that come in to Charts, I have no idea where they're from, so I have to kind of listen to them and find out what are the things that they know, what is the culture they come from, who are they, before I start saying my piece and saying things about them or talking to them, because sometimes I could say something that could be very not okay to say to them or very offensive. There's all sorts of things out there for people, religion and other things like that, that you have to take in mind when you start talking and saying certain things. As for my ethical implication that I had put into place there and use now is restraint. And based on the survival guide, restraint is learning how to hold back yourself to not insult those you're communicating with or saying unnecessary things. And dealing with children, sometimes you just want to be like, grip them by the head and throw them around. But you should not do that because these are kids. And sometimes these kids have their own problems and difficulties that you just don't know. So showing restraint in front of the young and outside of a workplace is a nice way to communicate that you are a professional and are very mature. In conclusion, I've talked about the things that Charts does, things that I've learned while at Charts, and the things that I will put in place out in the real world. I lost all my career. And despite all of this, despite all these hard works and the complications that having to deal with when it comes to making art and dealing with children who are not very open about themselves, this was all done in a nice, neat 2 little weeks of pure stress.